sometimes when you're in the presence of other business owners, when they ask like, hey, how's business going? Most time people, it's great. Everything's wonderful,
Right.
which is fine. And I do that too, unless I'm around my people, unless I'm around like, no, actually I'm struggling with this challenge. Do you ever wish you could be a fly on the wall for conversations between successful women entrepreneurs in different industries?
That's exactly what Breaking Even Better podcast is.
Every week, we'll share raw,
real,
and unfiltered insights from our experiences scaling our businesses
and helping others do the same.
My name is Trish Saman, and I'm the co-founder of a company called Go Beyond SEO. I'm a marketing expert, and I've been doing this for at least 15 years.
I'm Carolina Ponte, founder of Caja Holdings, fractional CFO, accountant, author, mother, friend, immigrant, and here I am.
I'm Brenda Harris. I am the owner of BPN Staffing Solutions. It's a national healthcare staffing agency. I am also a wife, a mother, grandmother, motorcyclist, and a business owner.
Carolina and I met, I want to say, what is it? It's got to be 9 years ago now, I think, that we met through a business organization that has now transitioned a bit. It used to be called Business Sorority. And we were put into a mastermind where we were talking with lots of other business owners about business. And then that mastermind kind of evolved and started to shrink down. And we developed a really deep friendship. And then Miss Brenda, I met when I joined NABO. And I sat on her board because she was the president of NABO. And I kicked off some of the best events you ever had as president, I think. So, yeah. So that's how we met.
And eventually we also met Nicole.
That's right.
Left those organizations, but still kept our friendship.
Yes.
And then we started having dinners on a regular basis.
Yeah, I remember when it clicked with Carolina and me. I remember the day. I remember everything about it. And I also remember how Trish would always have my back when I was the president of NABO Charlotte. Not national,
Right,
but NABO Charlotte. And Trish just had my back, and she was always there, like your right-hand man. And Nicole had the biggest energy that I could remember. I still don't think anybody has been able to match her energy. But I definitely appreciate our dinners and how intentional we are to have them. Like, if somebody don't have it on the calendar, they're like, oh, no, it's on the calendar for this day.
Right.
Like, what time we're going and where we're going.
Right.
So I look forward to those dinners. We've shut down many of a restaurant talking business, and I know they listen to us because that's what they do.
Let's do it.
And we're just being there talking and just having a good time. It's a good thing.
Well, yeah. And I think over time, we've had other people join us for dinner, and the conversations always turn into, we're providing the advice. We're like, based on all of our experiences, based on our backgrounds, we're like, whoa, girl, like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Here's a way to move forward.
That's right.
And that's, I think, how this whole
It's very
concept
natural
came.
too. It always kind of happens organically. Somebody will be, talking about this, or they're like, yeah, you don't understand. It's so hard. And we're like, actually, we do. We completely get it. We understand. We've been there. And here's what we did to overcome XYZ. And all of us kind of chime in.
I think you guys know that I really don't like advice, that word, because it's such a negative connotation. I feel like we give good, actionable information to the people that we talk to. And then when they go do it and it works, then they know who to come back to.
That's true.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's why we've decided to go with the raw, real, unfiltered, because that's exactly how we talk. And we provide this just life experience, not only as business owners, but as parents and as friends, as colleagues. Absolutely. And we have all of these connections that we have built over the years that we're able to bring that to the table and share with others.
It was from those dinners that we came up with the idea of a podcast, much like with, Brenda talking about how we've shut down many a restaurant in Charlotte, which is true, with, empty bottles of wine and lots of dialogue. And again, usually it was the four of us, Nicole included, who isn't necessarily here with us right now, but she will certainly be a featured and beloved guest on this podcast whenever she would like. And she has tremendous insight for individuals too, not just from a business perspective, but for individuals. But it was born of those conversations where not only is there support for anybody who was joining us, but for one another too. Like, yeah, I'm struggling with this, or, oh man, I'm just getting a headache over this. And then, like Brenda said, advice really isn't in the word. It's more of an insight, or it's a shared experience. Like, when I was going through that, this is what I did. And take that or don't, because it's not coming from a place where I'm bossing you around or I'm telling you what to do. It's more of, like I said, shared experience that's useful.
And I think that is part of what made sort of this dinner so successful, is we're not really telling you what to do.
Right.
We're only sharing our experiences and how we faced those challenges, or not even just ourselves, but our client base, right? Because we have, between the three organizations, we have a lot of clients.
Yes.
And they all have their own set of challenges, and how much we've learned through those relationships and being able to support them in their own growth. So the idea of the podcast is why don't we make this available to more people?
Right.
One of the things that I want to make sure we keep genuine as possible is how real and how relevant and how unfiltered and raw that it is, because that's one of the reasons that I like to be in you guys' presence, right? I know if somebody's going to tell me the bottom line stuff, it's Carolina Fonte.
That's right.
Period.
That's right.
She's going to tell you what it is, and you can take it or leave it, but it is what it is.
Agreed.
And it's typically the truth.
Yeah.
And then you don't play either. I mean, you have a knack for words.
I do.
You have a knack
Some
for
of them
words.
are not for public consumption, but I got those words too.
But that's the
sure do.
thing. That's the thing. And that's why we can talk and we can get things done, because it's not coming from a place of malevolence.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think the thing with you too, Brenda, and just to kind of point this out, and this is something that I find in the dynamic, is that we're really not only talking about our successes. We champion one another and we celebrate one another's successes, but we also have one another's back when we don't feel like we're successful, or we do feel like we dropped the ball, or it's a problem that we had and we still haven't solved it. That's the unfiltered part of it, because sometimes when you're in the presence of other business owners, when they ask like, hey, how's business going? Most time people, it's great. Everything's great. Everything's wonderful,
Right.
which is fine. And I do that too, unless I'm around my people, unless I'm around like, no, actually I'm struggling with this challenge. And yeah, I've been in business 15 plus years, but still,
Yes.
I'm still running into the same issue. Like where can I fix it? Or, because you only have your perspective. And that's one of the things that I most appreciate about our group is the raw and real and unfiltered, but it's also from a benevolent place. It's not coming like, oh, well, girl ain't going to work it out for you. But like, it's not from an ugly place. It's like, how can we support one another? And sometimes support looks a lot like just holding space and not necessarily offering the advice, not necessarily offering something up, just being like, yeah, I can see why you're struggling with that. You're going to get it, girl.
Right.
And not saying anything else, just letting them kind of feel their feelings. Yeah, it gets real, but it gets fun too at the same time. It's not all doom and gloom. It's just sometimes it is.
I mean, sometimes we do make jokes about the things that we run into,
right,
or how unserious certain things in business are, things that we face with our own clients or our own employees. And we're like, girl, let me tell you the latest one.
Right.
That's right.
And then you're like, oh, so that happened to me too.
Right.
And here we go. So I think that's also part of what makes this work, and what we are hoping that our audience gets out of it is that even as successful as we can be, because let's be honest here, Brenda, you're a Hall of Famer.
That's right.
And you are too.
That's right. That's right.
So, I mean, we've achieved some things, but we're still business owners at the end of the day. We still have to make hard choices. We still have to face issues with our employees, with our clients. That doesn't go away just because you achieve one thing. You still have to run the business.
Yes,
right.
I can't wait till we start talking about hiring the millennials. That right there is one of my sore spots. So I'm ready for that conversation. I'm ready for the imposter syndrome. You remember we had dinner one time and one of us walked in was like, I feel like I've been in imposter syndrome.
Right.
So I'm ready for that. So it's a lot of stuff we have to discuss and talk about and to educate people on. So I'm excited.
I'm also interested to see from any listeners that we have, like what questions they may have that we can tackle, or questions that maybe we haven't encountered. I want to see if they can challenge us to a question that we haven't dealt with. Like that'd be interesting as well, because again, we bang our head against the same wall sometimes, and sometimes we break through and sometimes we don't. So I'm interested to see the insights too that come. There are a lot of topics that I'm kind of excited to talk about. So,
well, yeah, I mean, we all have our, expertise in particular areas, but we don't know it all.
No.
Right.
As much as I like to think I do.
Oh, we know you like to think you do.
I don't.
Right.
I know I don't.
Yeah,
and that's why I rely on others to tell me, what do I need to do? How do I fix this? Or how do I go about doing certain things? Because I just don't know.
I think that was the biggest wake-up call for me to being a business owner, where you have your expertise and your training and your know-how, and you're really good at that piece of it. But actually running a business is a different skill set. It requires different things. It requires you to lean into the areas where you're not strong and find resources, and then knowing how to determine if that resource is actually good for you or not. And yet it's still your weak spot. So you're coming at it almost like you're coming at it from a language you don't speak fluently. You're like, well, I think I got it right, but I'm not entirely sure. And that's, again, where having other business owners who've been there, who that might be an area of strength, where you lean into them and you say, all right, I'm not sure I'm doing the right thing here. Can you just look at this right quick and let me know? And I just feel like that piece of it is the one thing that business owners walk away feeling like they're a failure, because they don't know how to run their business. They just know how to do their skill.
Right.
And that's honing that is just, it's a different animal. It's not the same thing as being good at your chosen profession. It's not the same thing.
I get that. I know with BPN, that's my bread and butter, right?
Right.
That's what I've had. We're going on, 14 years, I believe. And starting the e-commerce with the lab look, that was a whole learning experience. And I was leaving it to my husband to do it. But of course, he had to go a different direction. So I had to take over, and trying to get a process and organizing. That's what I need in my life. I can't be unorganized. So getting a process and organizing was so important for me, and having to learn what I need to do to make an e-commerce business successful was definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
But thank the Lord, it's moving in the right direction.
That's right.
And I think that's one of the things that also excites me about the podcast is the kinds of guests that we're going to bring on, that they will have experiences in areas that we don't.
Yes.
And we're going to be able to type that in, and we're going to be able to share that with the public and learn some things for ourselves as well. So it's not just, hey, we're here to teach you, but we're also here to learn.
Right. And we have some great tools that we use, and we'll be discussing those as when the time comes.
That's right.
To be able to help you get your business going in the right direction.
It's staggering the kind of tools that are available. Yeah. Like when you think about like when we were kids, and then you think about like what's available now, it's crazy to me. Like
listen, Linda. When when people tell me they're running their business out of their phone, I'm like, that's great.
Right.
When you first get started.
Right.
But at some point, you're going to have to let that go. Right. And you're going to have to use tools, and you're going to have to delegate.
Right.
So yes, I'm looking forward to sharing those optimizations that we can bring to business.
Isn't there that expression, like what got you to your first million won't get you to 10? Like because you what got you here isn't going to get you there. So talking about the different vehicles and how to scale and when to scale, and not only that, but what to scale. Like, where can I, grow my business without necessarily growing my overhead, like where's that critical mass point and that pivotal spot. So, and sometimes it's harder to recognize than you realize. Like you have to look for certain pieces, and every business is a little bit different. So when to raise your prices, when that kind of thing.
Especially because, as a society, we've made to believe that the more revenue you generate, the more success you have.
Right.
And then I'm here, the accountant,
Right.
looking at the numbers, and I'm like, oh, but
Well,
like
your revenue's
that's
good.
not.
Let's look at your profit, boo boo.
Right.
What happened to all the profits?
Right.
So that's part of it is understanding what is success. How is it defined for you?
Right.
Because it's different for each one of us.
That's
as
right.
we have, discover through our conversations.
That's right.
Like for me is having free time and enjoy
Right.
life. And for you is growing the multiple businesses. Like
Right.
you have all these businesses, Brenda. And then you are like, well, I want to be an author.
I do. And technically I am.
And you are.
My novel's not out yet. It's still with the editor. We shall see. So
but she's coming. She's coming.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's to me, that's the interesting part is defining success for oneself.
That's right.
Right. My success would not look the same as yours.
That's right.
And yours.
Which is, again, especially for like newer or younger or frustrated business owners to look at somebody, one of their colleagues, and say, oh, well, look at all the success they're having. It's like, no, that's only what you see. It's very much the iceberg principle. You don't know their whole story. You don't know what's going on below the surface. And you also don't know they are not on the same path as you. So comparison is a thief of joy, as they say. And it's completely true, because when you start to recognize that success is really at its goal, making you happy. Like how do you spend your days and what are you enjoying every day with what you do? That's really at its core what success looks like. And if that means that free time and money are means to find that success, then that's what you need to be pursuing. That's fine. But what that looks like for Brenda and Carolina is not going to look the same as it is for me.
But,
that's right.
But it's also true that once you start a business and you start, sort of generating revenue and growing your profits and all of that, you can get sucked into that idea or that business and not realize that that's not your true happiness.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people end up running businesses for 5, 10, 15 years. And at the end of it, they're like, I didn't really like doing that.
Right.
It was generating money.
Right.
So I stayed in this business. So, kind of having that conversation with other people that can like point things out to you in a way that is not telling you what to do, but like, hey, maybe we should consider looking at this from a different perspective. I remember talking to one person in particular, and she was sharing how, she was running this business, but that was not really her passion. And I was like, well, how can you bring your passion into the business? So that, because you still need to make a living. This was, one individual, no other source of income. I was like, how can you bring that into? And when you shift certain things, then you get to be that person, enjoy your life, and still make money.
I think one of the things that we all have in common is that servant leadership mentality, that we want to make sure what we bring to the table, we can share with others so they can achieve whatever goals they are trying to do. And that's another thing I appreciate about being here with you guys. It's just having it, because that's very important to me. I love to help people because I didn't feel like I had the help when I started all those years ago. So I feel like this is the best thing for entrepreneurs that's either starting their business, trying to maintain a business, plateaued in the business.
That's right.
And those that's just tired and not sure if they want to continue with their business and maybe go a different direction.
Yeah, I think that the interesting thing about being a leader is that true leaders cultivate more leaders. It's very different from bossing people around. That's not quite the same thing. So if you really want to help somebody, help them to learn to be autonomous and lead, and they become superstars in your business too. So it's an interesting thing to kind of tease out their talents and help them become leaders too. They're never going to replace you in your business, but they may kind of move on in their own. And I genuinely believe that the best leaders curate good leaders themselves. And poor leaders are the ones that just boss people around. Now, don't get me wrong. There's always a space for delegating, and leadership comes with accountability. So it has to kind of end with you. And I do think that that's important. But that being the servant leader, I think the best way to do that is to cultivate additional leaders. That's the move right there.
Well, and we also do it through our clients, not only with our employees or our team members, but we do it with our clients. I particularly feel like when a client leaves because they've outgrown our service space, I'm okay with it.
I love it when that happens.
I'm like,
it's sad, but it's happy.
It's sad, but I did my thing.
Yep, they left the nest. Look at you. You're a big boy now.
Yes, you get to go and make other bigger things. So I do think that's not just being a leader, is not just within your organization,
Agreed.
but is with your clients, with your community. When you participate in nonprofit organizations, as we have all done.
That's right.
Throughout the years we've been in business. I think that's so important because it also gives you an opportunity to be exposed to things that you otherwise would not be if you're stuck in your own little world of your own business and you're not looking outside.
That's right.
And you're not seeing what other problems are out there, what other solutions, what other potentials are out there. You have to expose yourself. Our podcast, Breaking Even Better, is really geared towards anyone who's interested in business. Whether you're starting out for the first time and you want to do it the right way and break even better, or you're an existing business and you want to get some insights, maybe some solutions, maybe some connections, or maybe you just want to laugh at the real and unfiltered stories we're going to share throughout our podcast.
So if that's you, please subscribe to our podcast and join in each week for new content and exciting topics.
Thank you so much for listening to the Breaking Even Better podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a minute to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content. To connect with our podcast or any of us individually, make sure you head to the show notes for all the links you need. See you in the next episode.